good, fellas, and welcome to the guide for Potemkin 2.0. This is going to mix in some of the stuff from the guide from Season 4, but a lot of it's going to be revamped. And if you see me looking like this is revamped. If you see me in a tee, then that is old stuff but is still relevant. So once you keep that in mind when watching this video. So the main reason why you want to learn Potemkin is that he is the main core big body grappler of Strive. If you like grappling and you like the big body playstyle, for example Zangief, Tezok, Hugo, this is the playstyle for you. This is honestly the character for you. There's nothing else like that. In terms of playing an intimidating force, Potemkin is that thing to be reckoned with. When you get your game plan started, he genuinely is that threat when you play him. His damage is pure dopamine when you land any form of hit or any form of command grab. The Potemkin Buster is definitely a satisfying command grab to land. He's one of the coolest modern day grapplers, if I'm honest, as well as the command grab being extremely satisfying to land. He also has very fun execution with his Kara inputs and his hammerfall breaks. You get this down, you'll become a combo master, and genuinely when it comes to his pressure, it can be very suffocating for the opponent to deal with. So many staggering options, and then you eventually hit them with their armor to catch them out for trying to call you out for staggering. There's a lot of reasons to play this character, but I'm going to tell you some things that you've got to practice before hopping into them. So when it comes to things to practice, I recommend getting used to charged inputs. For example, Hammerfall Break is going to be an absolute key necessity to all of your offense and knockdown pressure. So I recommend really learning that and understanding how to use Hammerfall Breaks. As soon as you get that down, you'll have really good OK, you'll have really good pressure, and you can go for some really fake setups, but you can go for some funny ones as well. Another thing that is worth learning is Kara's. Kara's, I wouldn't say became redundant with the Season 4 patch, but I would say that it became less and less likely that you need to use it. But there's a couple that I think you should learn as they're extremely important for your games. When it comes to Kara's, there's 3 that I absolutely recommend learning, as they have different mindsets and different skills to them, but all of them are really good. The first one to learn is Potemkin Buster. Being able to carry this after a walk forward is incredible in terms of power. Absolutely worth learning. You essentially get a command grab that reaches from about from 1/3 space, and it's really worth learning because of that. The other carry that's worth learning is Garuda, simply because you'll be right next to the opponent during pressure, and because it's a projectile now, when you get a knockdown into a Garuda, and you did it with a Kara, you're kissing them. You're that close. You're literally kissing the opponent. You're that close to them. The other one worth learning is Carback Megafist, because Carback Megafist became a pressure tool now. The point being, this is actually like a fuzzy setup tool that you go for a call out jump and keep pressure. So these are the 3 mains that I would learn in terms of carrying. Now, you're probably wondering, how can I go about learning my carries? Here's a training regimen that you can do before we even get into the rest of this guide to learning your carries, and that is essentially doing the input slowly, building up to it, and then repetition. So the first one I would learn when we call Kara Garuda, Carback Megafist. Core circle back into 6k, right? We do this so you build up the muscle memory of doing these types of inputs. Back, core circle back, 6k, core circle back, 6k, core circle back, 6k. You're gonna keep doing that. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna press the button that you want to press. So for example, Carback Megafist, you want to press punch. So after core circle back 6k, you press punch 1 frame later. Well, you have a 2-frame window, but you want to be as quick as you possibly can. So you kind of want to do it kind of like you get this rhythm down, right? So that's why I'm telling you, get used to core circle back 6k, core circle back 6k, because the core circle back doesn't matter that much. You can buffer that as long as you really want to, but it's that forward 6k and punch you have to get down between those frame gaps. So honestly, that's what you're doing. Core circle back 6k, punch, but that punch has to come out like quick as hell. Same with Pop Buster, same with Garuda. You want to practice that until you can do it 10 times in a row at least once, because that'll tell you you'll be consistent, and when you get it in a match, you will genuinely get it every time. When in neutral, you want to be looking for hits and approaches, so you want to mix in going between a little poke here and there from actually moving in and taking space. Space is the most important thing in a fighting game, never mind with a grappler. It becomes even more important for a grappler, but in fighting games it's super important to move forward and take your ground. When in neutral, you also want to stop approaches yourself. As Potemkin, you've been given the tools to do so. 5H is long, // is good for denying the air. You want to be able to mix up all that for denying get-ins as Potemkin. Obviously, as Potemkin, you want to look to get in yourself, and with the walk forward speed being increased and a lot of your tools having good forward momentum or giving you control with armor, it's important to look for your opportunities to go like, this is my turn and I'm gonna take it. Time for my favourite tool, //. // is a great hit confirm tool to head straight into slide head or hammerfall on an aerial hit. You should see this tool as more of an air stopper. If you see an air dash, this is great for checking it, although if the opponent is super high they can avoid it, but if they're in the air, this isn't a bad tool to go to. Do not link immediately into 5H, as all that'll do will give you more screen space to carry but nothing to work with, whereas hammerfall and slide head, if you time it, will give you a knockdown where you can work with your pressure. So great tool, use it effectively.
2D is a very good poke, very good poke, because it's low hitting, has good recovery, so it's kind of hard to whip punish for some characters except Giovanna. And it's really good at denying run-ins. If the opponent goes for run-up 6p like I was saying a moment ago, 2D is the way to go, or 5k as well. On counter hit, you can get a hard knockdown with hammerfall, so if you do get those meaty counter hits, be sure hammerfall for your knockdown. Be sure to be holding down back as you press 2D, because you're playing a charged input character. You want to be able to do hammerfall when you need it, and after 2D, you're definitely doing hammerfall every time, simply for the break or simply for the counter hit confirm. So keep your eyes out for that, keep your eyes out for that. Be sure to hold down back when pressing 2B. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, and then you'll get your special cancel. Now this poke does lose to a really good preemptive jump in, and you will have to hold the hit for that. But if you place it well enough, this will be a really good stopping move when it comes to denying run-ups. And it's very helpful for those matchups. It's very helpful against someone like Giovanna if you place it well enough, or it's really well put against characters like Testament trying to do their 6p as a denial in your neutral. It's definitely worth learning to use this properly.
5H got changed a ton for this season. At neutral, it knocks down the opponent for a soft knockdown, nothing that you can do anything with. But what makes it fantastic is the screen space that you're able to take on a neutral hit. Using a hammerfall break after landing this can allow you to go from mid-screen to almost near the corner with enough space. In combos, it's a bit of a dead tool, so do not use it as filler, as it used to be a good filler tool to go straight into hammerfall or flick. It's a very good counter hit starter, but once you pay attention to your distances, because if you get a counter hit at peak range, you might not be able to confirm it, but from anywhere else it is totally doable and you can get some good combos, which I'll tell you later. And another fantastic use for 5H is in the corner. It is a great reset tool. If you do a combo from Glow Slash or something like 2S and go straight into 5H, it'll lead to a soft knockdown in the corner where Hammerfall Break can be timed automatically for a Pot Buster. Of course, this Pot Buster can be avoided with a good jump, but it's still a good thing to represent as a reset.
This is a good poke that covers a good bit of space. It even hits people that are trying to low profile you, but not all of them. You will still lose the 6p, but you will catch some 2ks and you will catch a fast crawl, for example. It also covers a decent bit of airspace as well, so if you use this well enough against instant air dashers, you can use 2s as the anti-air counter hit and poke. And you can get a combo with this. If it's a counter hit, you do 2s, 2s into 5h. But be sure to delay the second 2h and delay the 5h and do Hammerfall Break for your Oki. But the main reason why we use this poke is because it's another great counter hit poke like 5H, except the meterless reward is 10 times better. You get a counter hit with 2S, you can do Hammerfall Break Pot Buster, leading to about 40% damage on your average character, meaning this is a great counter hit poke. If you're able to land this well, or trying to get a massive counter hit poke on someone like Sin, 2S really stands out as a great poke against those characters. But yeah, it's absolutely dope for me, but its weaknesses is that you can do a super jump to jump over with the air dash and actually hit Potemkin, or you can whiff punish it, because the recovery may be good on block, not good on whiff. To go over one of your last main neutral tools, you have Flick. The main reason for this is that on Season 4 it became a massive neutral poke. However, the main weakness of it now is that they did add a hurt box to the frontal part of Potemkin, meaning it's more likely that you can get a good counter hit on him before he pops the flick. But besides that, the main reason why we use this is because the disjoint is massive. We're talking a large portion of the screen can be caught with flick. and it's only -4 on block, meaning it's kinda hard to whiff punish for certain characters. But if you're really looking out for it, any character can whiff punish this too. Using the disjoint, you can deny some run-ups, and you can also deny some low jumps, for example, instant air dashers. And the fact that the counter hit gives you a hard knockdown is very, very good. You see counter, you be sure hammerfall break, take your knockdown. And if you land a charged flick, for example, you're holding this in neutral, the opponent goes to disrespect you, and then you let it rip. That is a hard knockdown that you can take advantage of, so be sure to do that.
These are the changes to Flick that are a big deal, as everything beforehand still remains the same. The projectile on Flick no longer carries the amount of space that it used to do. It used to go quite far and give you a hard knockdown. Now it does not go the distance that it used to. Not only does it not go that distance anymore, it doesn't give you a hard knockdown. So in matchups where the opponent wants to zone you from full screen, it's a little harder to use. I recommend mixing in some micro walks with this tool, that way it can reach distances that you want it to. And with the projectile, if you're close enough, try link it into hammerfall meterlessly. Using hammerfall to approach with this isn't a bad idea, as you can just break if you didn't get the hit, but against Axel, do not hammerfall, flick and walk forward.
Here we get into our next neutral buttons, and these are worth using despite the fact of their glaring weakness. The punches! Punches, for example 5p and 2p, don't really cover a ton of space, but they're very quick and hard to whiff punish. You want to use this in matchups where the opponent has great whiff punish on your recoveries. So for example, Giovanna, like mentioned before, she does really well into pot if you don't use these buttons. Chip does really well if you don't use these buttons. Use your 5p and 2ps. They're really good in neutral for these types of matchups. The main reason why is that they have great recovery. 2p covers the ground, so if people are trying to do the run up 6p method, 2p is a very, very low committal poke that you can use. Not a massive reward on these pokes, but again, having stopping power is the main point that I'm trying to tell you when you're playing neutral, and that's what you're going to use these pokes for. 5p is a great anti-air reward where you're able to slap them out of the sky, do 2s into 5h or 2s into heat tackle for a hard knockdown. So if you need a quick anti-air, 5p will cover you. If you need a quick ground stopple, 2p will cover you. And if you just need a mash out, 5p will cover you. Yeah, we use these pokes because they're not committal like 2D and that, and they're not really committal like a far slash, but they're very quick and cover the spaces that you need. So keep that in mind when using the punches and bunches.
6H is a neutral tool now. 6H became a neutral poke, as the 4 momentum in the active frames allows it to actually be a very effective poke for massive rewards and massive callouts. It's super committal where you can be whip punish if the opponent is ready or could jump over it and hit you. However, it plays exactly on the outside of characters' danger zones. What do I mean by that? Some characters have effective danger zones where you don't want to be in it. Against characters like Kai, for example, this allows you to poke from outside of Kai's danger zone and catch him on the start of something like a fireball. So if you're smart enough, you can place this well in the matchup. It does well into matchups where if you play outside the danger zone, or if they have very committal neutral like Gold Lures, you can bully them. However, against neutral where the opponents have longer pokes than you or have a bigger danger zone like the Goriyuki or Axel, this tool is kind of a dead one, but everywhere else, it's fantastic.
Up next is the anti-airs. This is a massive part of your neutral. Potemkin has some great anti-airs for denying the opponent in the sky. First one to start with is 6p. This is a very simple one to start with, without a doubt. 6p is really good for quick reactions to jump in. So for example, the opponent does an instant air dash JH. It's very easy, it's very quick to knock them out the sky with a great 6p. And then the other thing about 6p is that you can do 6p into heat knuckle for a solid chunk of damage. We're talking about a solid chunk of change, like 30% of damage on average characters. Thank your character's about 25. So, you know, you get a 6p to heat knuckle for damage, and if you land the counter hit and you need a hard knockdown, I recommend doing 6p into Garuda. This is something that you can hit confirm on an anti-air counter hit, and it's something that I like to do personally. Another thing I like to do is on normal hit 6p is set up a Garuda anyway. So yeah, sometimes I just take Oki, I'll be honest. Sometimes I just go like, this is fake Oki, I'm gonna take Monkey. As mentioned before, another great anti-air is far slash for denying those aerial spaces. Your counter hit reward is also very good, be sure to use that. The next one is heat knuckle. Now you can't carry it anymore, so it doesn't have the reach that it does, But for a great anti-air read, this does a ton of damage, and the reward that you get on block is also really good. On hit, you're able to deal a solid 30% damage to them, which is very nice. But on block, it leads to a buster opportunity. Why is this? And that's because the opponent is in the guard crush state, meaning that it's a 50-50 for their life. So you can go close slash or you can go pop buster. It's up to you, honestly. But yeah, use this as the opponent tries to jump out the corner, because that's where the rewards really matter in my mind. Besides that, in neutral, I wouldn't go for too much, but when the opponents try to escape the corner, this move really stands out. But yeah, this is mostly a call out move if you want to go for massive rewards. I don't recommend it a ton, but I do think it's very fun for those high big brain call outs. But we'll be getting into our last big anti-air poke, and that'll be Heat Tackle. Now, Heat Tackle is great when used against air stallers. For example, someone like Jacko, someone like Zao, like Bedman as well. Great against these types of characters that want to play to the sky and avoid you. They don't like you, they think you're smelly. So you need to approach them in the greatest way that you can, and that is using your rocket powered fist. Yeah, as they're air stalling, you're able to hit them, get a hard knockdown, and it sets up a free Garuda. But on the positive, if it's blocked now, no matter what, this is one of the changes to Season 4, it will always lead to your turn. At worst you can be is safe, right, where it's like -2. But at maximum, you can be really plus. Like, you could get so plus that it sets up a Garuda. Use it against air stallers, aka they're not in your space, Far Slash doesn't hit them, Heat Knuckle doesn't hit them, 6P will not deny them. But a Heat Tackle, full screen, very committal by the way, so be careful. You whiff this, you are going to get a massive whiff punish done to you. So use it well. Use it really well, but besides that, it's great. It's absolutely great.
You'll be looking at your tools for getting in, and your tools for getting in are mixed with a bunch of armor and a bunch of avoidance to allow you to get in and get started. However, they are committal, and walking forward is one of your few ways of not being committal.
Start with Potemkin's funniest move, the Mega Fist. Mega Fist. This tool can be used as a read for low hitting moves like Axel 2H. To help you visualize what the move is supposed to be, you're supposed to visualize this move like it's an instant air dash. Think about it. He jumps up and he goes forward, avoiding a lot of low hitting moves, and he comes in with his own personal jump in, being the Mega Fist. So I would see this as you're using an instant air dash, right? That's the whole point of Mega Fist, is that you're jumping forward, going over low-hanging tools. You can get anti-aired, but it can be very hard to check in the moment. Again, like an instant air dash. On hit, you do get soft Oki where the opponent's right there. If you're able to learn your Karagurudas like I taught you, on a normal hit you can set up a Karaguruda to chase backdash and to keep your pressure. With Meter, you can RC this move on block for guaranteed 50-50 pressure, or you can RC it for a combo pickup, which I'll be getting into later. With Meter, you can do a quick RC into JP, and that leads into the 50-50 I was talking about earlier. This will lead to close slash or pop buster, and generally you want to use this as a counter poke to projectiles. Doing Kara for Mega Fist covers so much space, and it's very easy to do this Kara. After you learn your other ones, genuinely you can learn this one in your own time. It's very quick, it's very quick. But yeah, this move on block is a bit committal, and on whiff you are going to get counter hit whiff punished. But on the plus side is that if you're able to get in, use this spaced well enough, you can generally get some good pressure and you can chip away at the opponent. If you carry it from the correct distance, it's very hard to punish. Some characters can't hit it, but they will take their turn.
New thing to mention before Mega Fist, if you get a very clean hit up close, you can link it to 2k immediately for a combo. So if you're super close and you get the hit and you didn't get blocked into a punish, take a combo, as it's very nice.
So try and use this as a very solid neutral, like, get in, and on hit take advantage, with Meter take full advantage, and on block, block and pray.
Up next is Hammerfall, and it is changed to a massive degree. It is still a good neutral tool to get in with and tank a hit and get hard knocked down to run your pressure. However, it's came across some new issues that you need to adjust to, as it was given new weaknesses. Even though it can tank a hit to give you this knockdown, is that it no longer defends against lows. So watch your shins when you use this tool, as you can get denied on your get-in. However, it is still fantastic with meter. With meter, you can still do quick PRC into Pot Buster by setting up a Roman cancel button and spinning the stick into punch. However, the damage on this has been hit heavily. PRC plays now don't give you the damage that it used to, it's way lower. With quick red RC into Garuda, you can actually get a massive turn, as the Garuda is uninterruptible if this has been blocked, but the opponent can do a YRC to escape. Hammerfall into Gigantor is still a fantastic play, however to do this input you need to really get it down and practice it. All it is on the break, when you do the Hammerfall break, if you do half circle back and tap forward with the break, punching heavy at the same time, you'll do Gigantor as an approach tool. In doing this, you'll use your bar meter and keep the opponent in lock with them having to deal with the wall. It's not as strong as it used to be, but this is still a fantastic option to represent. And with delayed PRC, you can go for close slash daggers to maybe get a counter hit. As you can see, Hammerfall is still a fantastic option with meter. However, you need to gauge yourself and be careful. PRC will not give you the damage in the meter it used to, and the tension penalty hits pretty massively. Now, Hammerfall break is the next step. They made it so you could still have the armor in that Hammerfall break, but you no longer tank the lows. It's like Hammerfall where the lows do not get tanked anymore. So when doing Hammerfall break, you want to use this as kind of a check tool to get in the opponent's head. Are they trying to defend? Are they trying to play poke game? Or are they too blocking? Because if they're blocking up way too much, this could be a good way to reset them to get a Pot Buster opportunity. It can be used to tank a hit, so anything that is a mid multi hit, you could do Hammerfall break to punish it with a Pot Buster. However, this is a very unlikely scenario, as most multi-hits that were scary to deal with were mostly lows, like Johnny 2D. Still a decent option as a get-in, but it's not fantastic.
Let's talk about your next get-in being Heat Tackle. Now this move I talked about earlier as a anti-staller, but the main reason why I want to talk about it here is because with meter, it becomes really good. One of the weaknesses of Hammerfall is the fact that you can throw it. You cannot throw this because it's in the air, and it is insanely quick, so you're not air throwing it. It's almost impossible. It's not doable. But what makes it so good is that on block, and if you do an RC, it can lead to a high-low mix because of how quick it is. You're able to do quick PRC into high-low, quick red RC into high-low, and the opponent has to guess between overhead or low, right? You're able to do a faint JS going to Pot Buster, you're able to do 5P, you're able to do JP for confirmed overhead. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with it. But the main reason why it's also good is the fact that with RC as well, you're able to get a combo into your own hard knockdown. And it's genuinely really hard to check with meter. That's the main reason why we use it with meter, because it's hard to check. But you use it well enough. With meter, you can do a high-low, you can do close slash, you can do Pot Buster. There's a lot of options that you can go for that can be scary. So be careful using this move without meter, and with meter, go crazy, go bananas, have fun.
Slide Head, a very difficult tool to use now, but it's still a good one nonetheless. At full screen, this can be used to interrupt a fireball to give you an opportunity to move in and take some Oki or pressure. Depending on the distance, you'll actually get some bigger reward for your knockdown, but at full screen, you're not going to get a whole lot besides a jab. It can be used as a block string ender, as it does give plus frames and puts the opponent in a blocking state that allows you to kind of keep up the pressure with 5H and 2S. Still good, but not as good as it used to because it doesn't have the armor properties anymore. You can get jumped in on. So use this tool sparingly depending on the matchup. Against Axel, you can represent it sometimes, but not a ton. Against Baiken, you never represent it, and against Nagoriyuki, it's not a bad idea. As we head into offense, it's important to understand what your offensive mindset is when you play Potemkin, because this can be difficult to understand. There are 3 main notes I want you to remember when playing this character.
So the main thing that you need to know about your offensive mindset is one thing and one thing only, and that is the fact that you're trying to set up Potemkin Buster. Everything you do leads to Potemkin Buster, and that's what you want to get your opponent to respect. You need to get this in their head, make them think about it every time they try to defend against you. Potemkin Buster should always be in the back of their minds. So keep that in mind. When you're setting up pressure, 5P to Pot Buster, Garuda into Pot Buster, nothing into Pot Buster, jump into Pot Buster, fake jump into the Pot Buster. Get it in their heads. They need to know that you're the grappler, right? So that is one thing. You need to condition them into the Pot Buster. That way you can set up your strike mix. And that way you mix up between them, going back and forth between them. So that is one thing going in your offensive mindset. The brain needs to be thinking about that move. And then when they stop thinking about that move, That's when you threaten that move. But yeah, let's talk about the main thing that you need to know for Potemkin Buster, and that is, it's not that guaranteed. Of course, a grappler's game is always a 50-50, but it becomes even less so in a game like Guilty Gear, which has a large throw protection window. What does this mean? Well, that means on frame 1 to 4, the opponent can do blocking and then backdash on the 5th frame. They will block your attack, and on the 5th frame where you can do a throw, they will backdash it. Yes, this is a great defensive technique. This is kind of like doing peekaboo in boxing. What this allows you to do is block your head and block your gut very easily, and essentially your defense kind of becomes autoplay in a way. And that is what fuzzy backdash is. You've just been taught what a fuzzy is. Fuzzies can be learned, hard to learn in a fighting game. They almost make no sense when you hear what a fuzzy is. But after much research and understanding, I get it now. Essentially what fuzzies is covering multiple defensive options or offensive options with one play. And with Potemkin, you have to worry about this. Because doing close slash, the opponent can block your 2S from the frames 1 to 4 and then backdash on frame 5 to avoid the pot buster, because that is the only time you can do a pot buster. That's why you'll see people do FD from frames 1 to 4 and then backdash. It's a great defensive tool that'll avoid throw and avoid strike. So how does Potemkin deal with this? Well, you have to do it for delayed offense, if you want to call it the backdash. And then you can actually let them get conditioned to be like, okay, fuzzy's not working, I'm going to stop fuzzying, right? Then you take them to layer 2 offense. But there's one thing that also allows you to deny all this, and that is Garuda. Now this is why I've been telling you try to set up Garuda, because Garuda negates those 1 to 4 frames of throw protection, meaning when it's blocked, they'll be grabbed on frame 1 as soon as it's available. Meaning, if you do a Garuda, the opponent has a true 50-50 they have to block with either walk up 5k or walk up pot buster. They both come out in the same frames. One is a low and one is a pot buster. One is a command grab. And what this does is that it causes the opponent to go like, okay, I need to take a true 50-50, right? And that's the beauty of Garuda. You don't have to call out fuzzy, you don't have to call out a fuzzy jump, you just have to call out backdash and jump or blocking. Now that you know what a fuzzy is, it's time to get into one of your main offensive starters, being close slash. Close slash is a great startup pressure due to it being +4. It allows you to link it into itself with close slash into close slash with walking forward. Even though there is a gap here, it's still worth doing. And you can catch backdashes and attacks by delaying 2S or delaying into tools like Garuda or 6H. Close slash does lose the backdashes that are larger than 4 frames, as it's only active for 4 frames, so be careful when linking it into itself, as the opponent can avoid you. But delaying close slash can actually give you a backdash catch into a full combo. Doing close slash if you think your opponent's been jumping too much, doing close slash into delay 2D will catch them on the get out, allowing you to get a hard knockdown for more pressure and continue that offense. You can also perform jump cancels and go into JS and JH, which is a nice stagger option that I like to go to try and get in my opponent's mind, make them think that they now need anti-air me alongside mash on me, alongside backdash me, and alongside jump on me. It adds a lot to the mental stack, I believe. If the opponent's been blocking way too much after a close slash, you know what to represent. Pot buster. And if your opponent's been mashing too much, close slash it at 2S or 5H. And if your opponent has been jumping too much, yeah, 2D. And if your opponent's been blocking too much, yeah, pot buster. It's a decent amount of mind games you need to get into, but once you understand what's great for every scenario, you start understanding what scenario you're in, what your opponent is like, and this is good to know. Garuda pressure. Now, in Garuda pressure, like I said, it's 50-50, pot buster 5k, can't make it any more simpler, but I recommend learning how to do walk up pot buster, as mentioned before, because what this does, it allows you to do an auto-timed pot buster with an auto-timed 5k. The walk up carry pot buster comes out in the same frames as walk up 5k, meaning it's a strike throw 50-50, there's no fuzzy, there's no nothing they can do, right? It comes out in the exact same frame and it catches them perfectly, so learn that. Do learn how to do the walk forward. But if the opponent backdashes after 5k, you can hit confirm into Gigant or Kai. I find this difficult, but I know some that can do this almost every time. You can do 5k into 2D for a hard knockdown on a normal hit or a jump hit, and this allows you to run an Oki. It's very good. And you can keep doing Garuda if you have the meter, because the opponent has to respect it. Main reason why is if they jump, you RC, bring them back down to earth. And if they try to approach, you RC into close slash, keep them in the corner. And if they try to do anything funny, you can feint the Garuda, do Pot Buster. You can just kind of keep doing Garuda if you have meter. And the other thing is, it does beat DP if it's spaced out, so that's another great thing about Garuda pressure. So set up the 50-50, space out the DPs, and go for cheeky offense. You can feint it, go crazy and all that. There's a lot of nasty pressure you can do in the corner, especially after a close slash OTG.
Now, Carback Mega Fist is a tool that's very different for what the older heads might remember. It's not really a combo tool, but where it stands out is that it's a pressure tool that can avoid attacks. When doing close slash with the Carback Mega Fist with a slight delay, you'll beat 6Ps, you'll beat mash outs, and you'll actually get a turn that's fantastic, because on hit, you get a knockdown, run Garuda pressure, awesome. And on block, it's +1, allowing for an auto time Pot Buster. Now, Pot Buster doesn't have armor anymore. You will still lose to a mash out, but on the positive, you'll actually still catch them if they're blocking up. Good tool, and on counter hit, you can get a full combo. For anyone that's used to older Gigant or Kai, this is going to take some adjustments for sure. It is now very, very fast, and no longer takes the entire screen that it used to. It now goes straight to mid screen, so what you want to use this for is for zoners, but don't get too greedy, as they can interrupt you with a 2H if you pick Hammerfall. Using Heat Tackle after this is still not a bad idea near the corner, as you'll still have a turn if the wall is coming into play and they're blocking it. However, in mid-screen, Heat Tackle is no longer a play with this wall. Unless you know someone really jumping about, not that good. However, in every other circumstance, still good to really get in, start pressure, and try get out of the corner, but don't think you're just gonna get a free turn like you used to. This is a new section talking about Counter Blitz. Now, the thing about Counter Blitz is that it's not really that useful on Potemkin. It's kind of a dead tool in a lot of ways, but there are some uses to the tool. Whatever the opponent is low and you got a counter at 5H or 2D, this is a great option to win, as it will beat burst. If the opponent didn't burst on the 2D or 5H, this is just straight up a win, you get the kill. Awesome. However, big issue about it is that you need to understand the ranges, because if you get a peak range counter at 5H, it will never connect. Also doesn't connect on 2H, and also doesn't connect on 6H. This is a very hard tool to use on Potemkin, but it can come in clutch in very, very niche scenarios. Well, let's get into the next part in your offense, and it's very important to learn your Oki. So for your Oki, I'm just going to tell you the tools that you want to use simply from the tools that I've explained to you earlier. And if you're close, one of your main Oki tools that you want to go for every time is the Garuda. Without a doubt, there's no denying it. Garuda's insanely good. On a 2D knockdown, you can go for Garuda every time. On a 5H knockdown near the corner, you can go for it every time. And if you get a slide head pretty up close, easy Garuda. Another great Oki situation is if you have the opponent in the corner after a pot bust opportunity, you could do close slash into carry Garuda. Why are we doing carry Garuda, you may ask? And that is because of one reason alone. You can backdash the normal Garuda, but you cannot backdash the carry Garuda, and it still frame traps a throw. Meaning that you can do close slash carry Garuda, and you've got great plus frames, you've got them trapped in the corner, but you do miss out on double Garuda. Because after close slash you can do Garuda to Garuda, and they're both confirmed, but if you do close slash carry Garuda, you beat a lot of options and you still get your 50-50. But yeah, close slash OTG is really good in any form of hard knockdown situation. It leads to any form of carry Garuda. Keep them in the corner, keep them locked in. Now 5P melee is still pretty good, however getting the safe jab timing is still very, very difficult unless we're talking about specific setups. When it comes to slide head, you're not really going to get a 5P safe jab melee anymore. That doesn't really exist because of the Hammerfall changes. However, in things like throw into Mega Fist 5P, that still exists, but a lot of other stuff it got affected pretty heavily. So 5P melee, a little difficult to use, but still a safe one to go to. So that's what I recommend going for. I do recommend going for the close slash or the 5P after a pot buster in mid screen, and in the corner do close slash OTG and to the carry Garuda. But the other thing you can go for, if you need active frames and you don't believe in that close slash ever on Oki or 5P ever on that Oki, you can go for 5K instead. Main reason being is that it's active for 14 frames, meaning you'll catch any form of jump out, any form of backdash. And if they block it, you can go for 2D into flick, keep yourself safe.
or you can do 2D into Garuda, go a bit greedy, and you get the pressure that you want. In terms of Oki, close slash and Garuda are really good. Let's talk about your safe jumps and your safe jabs. Like mentioned before, doing hammer fall break 5p is a really good safe jab against Wake Up Super. One thing that you can also go for in terms of safe jumping after a hitting 2D or a hammer fall, you could do with 5p into jumping JP with, be sure with these two, and be sure to be frame perfect, into landing JH. And what this does is that it avoids every form of Wake Up Super, every form of Wake Up DP, you'll block it, and you'll be able to get a free punish that leads to 90% because Potemkin does a ton of damage on counter hit against a blocked DP. And if the JH is blocked, it also leads to guaranteed offense. So if you land that JH on block or on hit, be sure to combo it, be sure to confirm your pressure. And if the opponent decides DP, be sure to block it, be sure to punish it, take your offense. Safe jabs allow you to cover multiple options before, kind of like a fuzzy, except this is what we call an option select. What this means is that you're able to pick an option depending on the situation in the moment, very quickly as well. So for example, if we're doing a safe jump, it allows us to pick between two options, which is continue pressure if blocked, and if we have to block a DP, get a counter hit confirm. Again, what you're doing is kind of like you're programming, right? You know, if statements where it's like, if something happens, do this. That's what you're doing with these JHs. That's what an option select is. It's like you're jumping in and then going like, if that happens, do that. And if that happens, do that. But besides that, I'm safe to kind of just like block it out, see what happens. I'm safe to just jump in, see what happens, and then react to it. That's an option select. That's what an option select is. And that is everything that you kind of need to know for hard knockdowns, for your safe jumps, and for your safe jabs. And that's everything that you need for offense. So we're going to get into the next step now, which is your defense. Defense, you need to have the knowledge, and sometimes the knowledge isn't enough and you need to bet on a play, and sometimes you may need to go for fuzzy defense, sometimes you may need to go for a jump out, sometimes you may need to go for a mash out. It calls for the moment. And so when I'm telling you defensive options, I'm not saying do this every time. I'm telling you these are things to consider. Okay? So again, I'm giving you the recipe. Well, I'm giving you the ingredients. You need to pick your recipe for the moment. So it's all about labbing the game out, finding out what you can defend against, and what you can do to defend against it. So that's what these this is what these tools are going to tell you, right? This is what these tools are going to tell you how to defend, but they're not going to tell you wherever you can do it. There's just times where you can do it, and that is it. So I want you to keep this in mind. Defense is very subjective in fighting games. It's not that easy. But let's get started with the mash tools.
Most of your defensive options will come out in 5 frames, either in armor, startup, or attacking. The first mash options are no big deal. What do I mean by that? I mean by like if the opponent blocks, you're fine. If your opponent gets hit, you're fine. And if the opponent did anything besides do a stagger where it's really tight, you're fine. If it's a counter hit, and that's going to be the case for all the defensive scenarios, you're screwed.
Let's talk about 5p, and that is a mash out that will get you out of a lot of situations. It comes out very quickly, you're able to knock them back, and you're able to do 2 5ps, and that'll lead to some decent damage, right? You do 2 5ps, that's like 10%, you push them back, and you can walk forward a little bit. You can also do 5p into close slash on a counter hit confirm. That's something I like to do on block anyway. You get /5h, which we'll call a backdash, but it's something I like to do. 5p into close slash, 5p into far slash. The opponent doesn't really challenge it, and you'll only really lose to 2k because it whiffs it and then you get hit for it. But when the gap is 7 frames and bigger, I recommend going for 2k because it's a low. A low hitting mash tool is really good, and it comes out in 7 frames. You'll hit the opponent with a low, and you'll get a hard knockdown as well because all the Ks lead to 2D. You mostly want to try use your 2k on things close slash into close slash. If you recognize your opponent's been doing that a lot, 2k beats it if you instantly press 2k. So if you're not fuzzy defending and you go for a raw defensive play, 2k will beat a close slash into close slash, especially on characters like Faust or Axel, where it's very easy to do that. Or when your opponent's going for something greedy, these mash tools can be very useful. For example, if Pot's going for Garuda, you're fighting Potemkin that does Garuda, 2k might help here. 2S might help here, jump out will help here. Those are defensive tools that you can go for.
Now, Hammerfall in defense is still a very good tool to use, however it's very risky. You can interrupt Hammerfall with a counter hit low and it will give you such a good reward near the corner. Considering the wall is right there and you're up against Potemkin, if you get a 2S into counter blitz, that's an easy wall break. Still a good tool to represent as it allows you to tank a hit, so if you're well aware of what block strings are coming up next, like if the Johnny's been using a lot of bar slash instead of 2S, or if the Axel's been using a lot of JS instead of backing up into 2H, these are tools that you want to use. With Meteor, you can do this cool trick where you Hammerfall, PRC, take the hit, and then punish. However, because it's a PRC play, you'll do significantly less damage than what you used to. Careful of the meter tension and careful of the damage, but keep in mind, still a great tool against mid pokes in terms of getting out the corner. Finally, we have the Fuzzy Buster. This was something that was discovered by Andros. I still have difficulties implementing it, but this is for the high level Potemkins that want to raise their gameplay to a whole new level. Fuzzy Buster is a great tool that's amazing for calling out left right. So as you know, you can do the Potemkin Buster with a full circle. However, by holding down forward and then doing a full circle all the way down to down back, or the other way about, is a great way to call out left right fuzzies that Slayer likes to do. You'll pop buster him if he crosses you up again, and you'll block him if he goes on the same side by using your FD. So this is a good piece of tech to actually learn. You'll be able to avoid a lot of his shenanigans and pop buster a lot of the silly stuff that he likes to do. The input, again, starting from 1, going all the way around to 3, or starting from 3, going all the way 1, depending on the side you're on. Finally, you have the combos. I'm not going to be talking over it. Basically, you're just going to see the combos, the notation with a little bit of music, and these are all applicable in 2.0 or Season 5.
take the role of a silly clown.
And that is it, kings and queens and in-betweens. I hope you've really enjoyed this guide and getting back into it and play Potemkin. I hope this isn't too mix mash with what you were seeing with previous stuff and current me, but just do know that it doesn't matter that much, as past me told you all the info that you still need to know, whereas current me is telling you the newer stuff that you need to know. And with that, I hope you guys enjoy. Be sure to like, sub, comment, and all that good stuff. Here's to 2.0, lads. Hope you enjoy.